Welcome back to the VET S.O.S podcast, the Scoop sub channel. Don't forget, if you transition in that space, always grab that VET S.O.S lifeline. Today we have a special guest with us. I mean, coming all the way from Turkey, like different times on everything. He said, "Hey, I could do it today." I said, "Let's do it." So, ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to meet my man Steve. I'm gonna tell y'all. I'm telling you about Steve. So Steve, right here, I call him SEK. He's a combat veteran, global business strategist, political disruptor. Steven Eugene Kuhn has been a Bronze Star recipient and the U.S. Army combat veteran, turned international business advisor, deal maker, and truth-driven political voice. With over $900 million raised in general capital and $1.71 billion in committed capital, Steven operates at the intersection of power, performance, and principle. He's built, led, and scaled businesses in 10 countries. He advises high-level entrepreneurs, government officials, and family officers on deals, influence, and other operations. Steven also is the co-author of the Unleash Your Humble Alpha, a values-first leadership method now taught in the U.S. universities. When Steven speaks, people listen. Not just because he's seen war, wealth, and political and world politicals from the inside, but because he speaks with truth, clarity, and courage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Steve to the Scoop. Hey, Steve, what's going on? How
All
you doing?
Brother, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the intro.
Man, I greatly appreciate you coming in, because when I reached out, I sent a LinkedIn message and I'm like, "Hey, can you come out?" He's like, "Sure, send me the link." I'm like, "Oh, wait, okay, today is the day." He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And now he's here. So I was actually reading your book, and as a federal combat veteran, I started to see a lot of information in here that is good for a transition service member. Right. You know, sometimes people get confused by the title, right? Like Unleash Your Humble Alpha. Is it for transition? And I say yes, it is, because you have to peel back the onion and apply it to you on how you transition. So I know a little bit about you, but let people on the scoop. Give us the scoop on Steve.
All right. Well, here we go. So, I was born in Pennsylvania, joined the Army when I was 19, actually when I was 18, but I didn't go until I was 19. Got stationed in Germany, where I spent 7 years, also from where I went to Iraq from. So I went to Iraq, went back to Germany, spent 6 more months in the Army, and I got out, stayed in Europe, got a European out. And then, I opened up a year later, 2 years later, I opened up a cocktail bar, then another cocktail bar, then another cocktail bar in Berlin, Germany, a nightclub, an insurance agency, a construction company, just a bunch of things. And I just started going from there. I wrote a best-selling book. Then I ended up on TV, and then I was acting. Then I was a news anchor. I was an MTV VJ in German. Just crazy shit. Like, I had no business doing any of this stuff. I was Mick Jagger's bodyguard while I was there in Germany when he was visiting for 3 weeks. And then I moved, and then I went here, then I went there. Then I took over a corporation out of the blue. One of the guests in the bar said, "I want you to run my company." I'm like, "Yeah, right, buddy. I'm a soldier." He's like, "No, you're running a business." I'm like, "It's a bar." He goes, "No, it's a business." I'm like, "Okay." And he threw me in the deep end, and I ended up running a company with 3,500 employees, 87 locations in 9 countries. And I remember I quit one day, and I said, "Look, I'm done." After 3 weeks, I was like, "I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I don't even know what a P&L is, profit loss. I don't." He's like, "Look, here's the other. I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "Steven, shut up. If I see it in you, it means it's in you. Just embrace it." That was the best advice I'd ever gotten. Because if someone sees something in you, that means it's in you. You just need to embrace it. And that's what I did. And I took that company like this. And that made me sort of well known in that industry. And then I just started going around, went to America, all over Europe, and I lived in all these different places. And I was growing and scaling companies, and not only for them, but also my own companies. Got married in Berlin, got divorced in Berlin, got married in Hungary, got divorced in Hungary. And then I got married now again for the third time to a wonderful Ukrainian woman who lived in Turkey for 14 years. And I said, "Well, hell, I'll just go to Turkey." So here I am 3 years later, I'm in Turkey. I love it. We live literally right on the Mediterranean. Like I can jump into the Mediterranean from here. And so every day I look at palm trees in the Med. It's incredible. And so I'm very, very fortunate. I've done many, many things. I worked for Andrea Bocelli, which is the world famous tenor. He's like the Pavarotti of our generation. I worked for Olivia Newton-John, the the star in Greece, the blonde woman before she died like recently. But I worked for her for 3 years, brought her company to Europe to 6 different countries. I worked for European parliaments, Croatian parliaments, German, co-founder of an organization that is now the most popular party in Germany, connected all the way to the top in many countries. I've advised, world leaders and royals. And I had, the whole time, I had no business doing any of this stuff. But because they came to me and saw it in me, I embraced it. I don't know if I downloaded information or what I did, but it always came out on the top end. And that's one thing I got to say is if you hang on to your identity as a soldier, as a Marine, as an airman, as a Navy, whatever, you won't progress in a new direction. You might go as a contractor, or you might work in a military, realm somehow. But if you want to actually bust out of your frame and go somewhere completely new, you got to go in uncharted territory, and you have to let that behind you. It'll always be a part of me. I think of the military every single day, and I've been out since '93. But I still feel like a soldier. I still do, and I still. Matter of fact, most people, my nickname is Captain because of the way I talk. Right? I don't go. It's like this.
Right. Fire, forget.
No bullshit. Let's just get it done. And with my company, Nova Scale Partners, just since December, we've raised almost $3 billion for companies all over the world. And that the main reason people come to us is integrity and urgency. And if there's one tip I can give anybody out there, if you're not the fastest one in the room, but accurate and precise, then you're going to lose out. Because these days, people don't call you back. They don't do what they say. They don't follow up. There's so many ways to be easily ahead of everybody else. But the one way that always is, I'd say, highlighted over everything that I've seen is urgency. Get it done now. Get it done now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Right. Don't wait till tonight. Do it now. Like if we were on a Zoom call right now, and you told me, "Hey, I'm looking for this and that," I would get on the phone right now and be like, "Hey, can you join a Zoom call? I got someone to introduce you to." And I'd get them on a Zoom call right now. We do it just like that. That's how we do it. People are like, dude,
like what we did today. Yeah, this is thing. Yeah. I was actually reading your book, and I'm like, man, let me reach out to Steve and see if he even responds, because I started to go through, and I was looking at your section 1 where it says, "We are what we decide." And you just hit the nail on the head when you talked about, like, look, I had to make a decision because I transitioned 93. I transitioned multiple times. That's what you just shared with us. Yeah. Since 93, you moved from country to country, from location to location, from business to business, to everywhere you help grow, you use a value-added asset.
Yeah.
And when you wrote this book, you said, what year did you write this book again? I'm just curious.
2020.
2020. So how in 2025 is this relevant? And that's why I want to share, because this stuff is still relevant 5 years from now. It'll be relevant 15 years from now. But how are you able to help us, give us the inside scoop on we are what we decide? Like, how does that help in the transition?
Oh, how does it help in the transition? Well,
of course, yeah.
There's everything's a decision. Just like the decision you made to join the military, the decision you made to go for that next rank, if you could, it's just a decision. And people, a lot of people, for some reason, end up making life too difficult for themselves because they get in their head, right? And you don't have to get in your head. Just what is your decision? What do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And I have to tell you again, I did all these things that I had no business doing, but I decided I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't work, I'll do something else. And sometimes it didn't work, because in 2008, I had a complete crash and I ended up homeless, like almost overnight. And a suicide attempt, homelessness, the whole works. And then I just, disappeared from society for 8 months and went into a monastery in the mountains of Austria with the monks. And I said, I'm giving up. I don't even care. Let me be a monk or whatever. That didn't work out very well, obviously. But I tried. It was fun. And that was another decision to make. And I realized sooner or later that, look, it's about making you into a product, into a brand, and I'm not talking like get online and content. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking when you step out your door every day, who are you? Who are you? Not what do you do? I don't say I'm the CEO. You've heard it before. Like, you know who I am? And I'm like, no, right. You can tell me, I'm sure, right? Yeah, I'm the CEO. Right. That's not who you are. That's what you do. Who are you? And they're like, What? What do you mean? Who are you? Yeah, most people don't even know who they are. And if you don't know who you are, how are you going to be you? Right? How many people are out there copying everybody else? How many people are out there
That's a
dressing
lot.
dressing the same? What's in your mind when you think of a veteran? What do you think? I think beard, sleeve tattoo, disgruntled veteran T-shirt or something like that. Like there's a picture in your head, right?
Right,
I'm
right,
not
right,
that. I'm
right.
always the opposite of what everybody thinks you're supposed to be, right? And for me, that's a sign. Am I being something on purpose differently, or am I actually being who I am? Well, I'm being who I am, right? And it served me so well. People tell me all the time, but you're so refreshing because, first of all, you don't bullshit, you don't tell stories, you just say straight like it is. And I used to have the largest veteran entrepreneur group online, which was called the Vetpreneur Tribe. And I passed it over to Marshall Tureen. But I used to have that one. And we had, 17,000 veterans in there. We did live events, everything in there. Well, I had billionaires come down, speed coach veterans when we were in Austin. Was it Austin? No, it was in Houston, I think it was. We did a Shark Tank kind of thing with Mark Rockefeller. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. But I have to say, most of the veterans, they're stuck in that identity of military. And here's why I understand it. Because in our life, the most impactful thing, the most alive and important and fulfilled that most of us have ever felt was in the military. Because we had a purpose so much larger than who we were, so much bigger than our family, so much bigger than anything we could ever imagine, that it's hard to beat. And so you have two choices. Hang on to that and do things to remind you of that every single day, but never get it. Or just go for gold, man, and just go crazy out there and try to find it. And what happens is, with me, is I've changed so many times because I don't find that fulfillment, that excitement, that adrenaline, that loop that we get into in the military. So I don't find it. So I just keep moving. I keep moving. And I find it a little bit, and then I get bored, and then I move on, and I get bored, and I move on, and I get bored. So I started focusing on me and go, okay, I've been doing this now. I'll be 58 in 4 days. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell do I want? I've been doing this since 93. I got out. I keep changing every 2 or 3 years. And I said, well, I'm going to focus on me. What do I want? I want to get healthy. I am healthy, but I want to stay healthy. I want to feel younger. I want to be agile. My wife, she's 18 years younger than me, from Ukraine. I just want to live a long life with her. We got 4 kids, all under 12. So I'm going to focus on
That's
me.
definitely energy right there. You need that.
My wife extra energy. My wife alone's enough energy.
Right.
You have 4 kids, right? So, so I wanted to focus on me, and I had to cut a lot out of my life to do that. I really did. It makes it easier when you don't stay in the same place, obviously, to cut things out. But I cut a lot of fat out of my life. A lot of people were destructive. A lot of people that weighed me down. A lot of people that I was carrying, and I carried a lot of people.
Was that what you was referring to and claiming your new identity when you talk about had to cut a lot of people out that in that transition space? Because I did a little over 20 years in the Air Force as security forces MP investigations, and once I came over, reintegrated back into the civilian sector, some of the people that I was attached to, they had that a different mindset. They was always on go for a different thing, and I was trying to transition to my next chapter, right? And like you said, is some people you can only go so far with them, right? It's nothing wrong, you could meet up at a later date and time, but sometimes you come to a fork in the road where you have to, like you talk about in your book, claim your new identity.
Look, relentless, unapologetically. Look, this is what I think of every situation. I don't care if there's an earthquake or have an argument or whatever. I go like that. I pan out and I go, okay, this moment in my life, how much impact will it have in the rest of my life? Usually it's nothing, no matter what it is. So if I have somebody who I have to cut ties with, I'm like, look, man, love you, bro, but we got to go. I got to get out of here. You're holding me down. You're keeping me back. You're dependent on me. We can't have this. I love you, but I'm out. And you do it. You have to be respectfully selfish in order to get up there. Look, I am not, I got my MBA and all that stuff you're supposed to do, right? But I am not some high-flying business guy, but I do high-flying business like nobody's business. I talk to sheiks and all kinds of crazy shit, like billionaires. I was on a billionaire last time. I'm a billionaire on Thursday. It's like, why are they calling me? Urgency. I get it done. Integrity. I do what I say and say and do what I say and don't do what I say I'm not going to do. Right? I mean, that's integrity in the end. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't do what you say you're not going to do. And if you screw up, apologize and make it better. That's integrity right there. Simple. But too many people are like, hey, trying to protect me, trying to
right
image out there. How do I look to this person, that person? If you're not the same person all the time, no one's going to trust you.
Right. Be who you are and be proud of it. Just lock in.
You got to decide, man. You got to claim it. Own it. That's why it says, own your presence in life and become the epic leader you're meant to be. That doesn't mean I'm going to be president. That means leader in your life, leader in your family, leader of you. Because here's the key. And if you forget everything else in this podcast, this is the one thing you're going to remember that makes it very clear. Without you in your world, there is no world. Because if you're not there, the world doesn't exist for you. So who's the most important one?
Wow, you.
Yeah. So think of it this way. You want to have more impact? Think of it this way. If you have kids, if you have a wife, if you have friends, you have family, mom, dad, if you disappear, if you're not in your A game, they don't exist anymore. Think about that. Now, if that doesn't sit for you and motivate you to do something for real, it's scary.
That's where you talked about find your purpose.
Yeah.
I was lost. Like you said, I was in my transition. I was lost. I didn't know what was my purpose because all I knew, I came and went in my young 20s, right? All I knew was military for 20 years, my whole adult life. And then when it's time for me to transition, I like, what's my new purpose? What I'm going to do. And then somebody told me like, hey, have you thought about doing podcasts? Have you thought about helping others and coaching? And then I found that to be my passion. Yeah. And now I can't sleep without sharing my story and energy because I see other people going through the transition space looking lost like I was, right? So, and you touched on it in your book, finding your purpose.
Yeah. Well, the purpose is important because of the following. There's a process you go through in the book. First chapter is all about identity. Find out who you are. You have an identity statement and you have a 2-word moniker. And I'll give you an example of how that works. So when I did my 2-word moniker, I came up with powerful connector. Sounds vanilla and generic, doesn't it? But if you look at my world, I have 50,000 contacts, people that I actually met and know, 50,000 people, right? So obviously I'm a connector. What does the powerful mean? When I thought about it, I said, well, when I connect people, I don't just connect them. I make sure both sides are doing what they say. And if they don't, I give them shit, right? I make sure they follow up. I follow up and I make sure everybody's winning. And I said, well, hell, why don't I just do that? What's all this other shit I'm doing? Right? So that's what I started doing. And man, it exploded like nobody's business. And what does that do? When you're living your purpose as an identity, through your identity, it amplifies your identity. And it makes you larger than life through your purpose, right? That gives you what? Presence. And where does presence come from? It comes from being present in the one thing for the person in front of you or the people in front of you. So if my identity is powerful connector and I'm doing that amplifies my identity and I'm present for those people because that's all I'm doing. I'm not doing this and that and this and that and that. I'm not, hey, 1 second. Yeah. Okay. 1 second. I'm with you wholly and fully for the person in front of me, present. And being present gives presence. And when you're present, you've seen it, you're somewhere in a bar or you're in a club or you're at a conference and you just feel something like someone just came in the room. They didn't say a word. That's presence. That's what I'm talking about right there. You got that, you're gold.
And that transition, you talk about empower, right? And that rolls right into empowerment, building and retaining the A-team. I think of it like the A-team back in the day. You had Hannibal, you had Mr. T, you had Murdoch, you had everybody
Face.
had their specialty. Face, yeah.
Face, yeah.
So, what's the scoop on trying to have people, or definitely the transition veteran or transition human that's transitioned to another job, like how building and retaining your A-team?
Well, it's not just about A-team. So, what did the A-team do with each other? They would always elevate each other. They would empower each other, right? So, when we talk about empowering, that means creating space and elevating all those within your life enterprise so all step into their greatness. Because if you're creating an A team, they all have to step into their greatness. Otherwise, you're not an A team. You're responsible for the vibration of those around you. If they have a lower vibration, you raise them up to your level. If you're lower, you have to raise to their level, right?
Yes,
and,
yes.
So it's all about that vibration. It's all about that level of awareness, and you attract people at your vibration. So if you're low vibration, you have people at a low vibration. So there you go, my wife. And,
that's good.
And so that's a big part of it is who do you surround yourself with? You, of course, you become the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. I don't hang around with 5 people. I don't have five friends. I lived in too many countries. I don't know enough people in one country to spend more time with. But I've learned that these days through Zoom or through contacts like that, I have really good friends that I've never met in person that we're just like blood brothers. It's crazy when you think about it, but we do it with purpose. So when we get on the phone once a week with these guys, I have different guys that I work with every week or talk to every week. We have the specific purpose of elevating each other, helping each other, pushing each other, finding issues for each other. There's one thing that I always say is you can't influence the outcome of anything that you do. The only thing that you have influence over is the intention of adding value by solving problems. So when you go into whether you go to the store with your wife or your husband, it doesn't matter where you go, what you do. If you focus on one thing, that's adding value by solving problems, and you create space for the person in front of you, showing up wholly and fully for anyone in front of you, focusing on the only thing you control is your intention, not a specific outcome in mind, you're going to fly. Because when I have an outcome in mind, like let's say, for instance, I want to sell mattresses, and I come on your podcast, and all I want to do is sell mattresses. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel, what's this guy? Why doesn't he just talk? Why is he talking about mattresses all the time? You know what I mean? Like you would feel that pressure. And when a salesperson goes into a sales discussion and they're trying to sell you, you feel it. And you're automatically, it's human nature to resist.
Yeah.
So when you show up wholly and fully for the people in front of you with no preconceived notions or cookie cutter solutions, focusing on the only thing that you can control, that's the intention of adding value by solving problems, you come out a winner every single time. Because you don't know if you can solve the problem. And if you can't solve the problem, you just need to know somebody who can, or somebody who knows somebody who can. And that's why you can step into every single conversation with the certainty of deploying your genius in any given situation. Because I know you, I know Steve, I know John, I know Jim, and if I can't help you, I know they can, so let's go.
Right. And that's where you get that momentum, because you put that in your book, momentum, networking, and rapport building. It goes
Amplify your purpose by igniting the fire within others, partnerships, and invest in relational capital. Relational capital is the only investment you'll ever make where you get a guaranteed return. And investing in relational capital means elevating others and leaving them in a better place than when you met them, whether it's 1 second or a year or a lifetime. When they leave you, they got to be in a better place. They're elevated. So when you go to the cash register and you're in a bad mood, you want to, shit on the cashier, or you want to make her day better or his day better. One comment, one thing. And what you're doing is you're training your brain, you're firing new neurons to be positive, because again, that's your vibration. If you're in a bad mood, that's a low vibration. You're going to attract low vibrations. You've seen it. When you're in a bad mood, everything bothers you. You fight back. Traffic, road rage, all that kind of shit. If you're in a good mood, a guy can fly by you and cut you off. You're like, whatever.
Yeah, you just mellow. Yeah,
exactly. So
he must be in a rush.
that's vibration. So if you can stay at higher vibration, you're going to attract that. Anything negative is going to pull you down. You don't need to resist it. Let it just pass through you. Like, look, how much of an impact will this have on the rest of my life? Nada. How much of an impact will this have on the rest of my life that guy flipped me off? Nothing at all. Zero. Let it go. It's ego. Okay, who cares? Right? What are you focused on in life? I'm focused on me and mine. And after that, when my cup is overflowing, whatever is overflowing, I can share. If it's not overflowing, I can't share it. Right? Most people walk around with a half-filled cup. Got to fill yourself up. Most people walk around with a half-filled cup. There's people that are addicted to helping, and they help so much they're only ever half full. The power comes from you. It doesn't come from your giving. It comes from you. If you're giving from a half full cup, you're only contributing half.
Wow, that makes sense. So once your cup overflows, that you could give, you have the overflow to give because your cup will stay full. Yeah.
Think of a champagne pyramid,
Wow.
champagne glass pyramid, right? Champagne glass pyramid. You pour it in the top, it starts flowing over, it fills the other cups, fills the other cups, fills the other cups, but it's coming from the top cup, right? That's you.
So the top cup has to stay full.
Yep. Overflow.
So it can flow out.
Yep.
And then you talk about section 5, you talk about and we touched on it earlier, the honesty, integrity, and transparency. The HIT, call it that HIT training. You know, like we talk about fitness. So I just want to share my little fitness journey. I'm down a little bit over 100 pounds of work. You know, I was in a dark place myself. And I say, you know what, Kings, it's time for you to get back healthy. So my journey is going on a year plus, but that HIT training, high intensity interval training, has helped me get to where I'm at now, which is but you all, and you put in your book, I didn't even know it was in there until I started reading. I was like, oh, snap. And like, okay, this is the other HIT right here. So can you explain that? What's the scoop on that? Why you put it in the book?
Well, HIT was something that I came up with probably 20 years ago when I was in the corporate world in Europe. And I was looking for a way to train people on one specific model of how you can live. And I looked at myself and said, well, for me, honesty is key. And transparency is key as well. So if I don't like somebody, I'm going to tell them. If I don't like something I'm doing, I'm going to tell them. Transparency. I was like, well, what's the byproduct of? Well, it's integrity. So honesty, integrity, transparency. Honesty with yourself while you do say and think like you do. Transparency is how you step into the world with that honesty, and it's your ongoing reputation. The byproduct is integrity. Integrity makes you authentic. Authenticity allows you to dictate your market value. So when you're authentic, people are like, whoa, who's this guy? Who's this gal? That increases your value. So when I go out and I speak to investors, or I speak to, like I spoke to Bill Clinton, or I spoke to George Bush, or I spoke to Kofi Annan, I spoke to these people. I just walked right up to them, right? And I can do that because I know my value, right? I know I'm worthy. I know I'm worth something because I live my life based upon HIT. Real simple. Honesty, integrity, and transparency. And I want to go through the honesty part because honesty with yourself while you do say and think like you do. Example, you walk into a bar with a bunch of guys. There's a good-looking guy with 3 girls. You're like, oh, he's got to be gay. It's like the first thing when we were in the military, like, oh, he's got to be gay. It's like, there's no way he's with those 3 girls. Like right away, you're looking for a reason, right, to make yourself more significant, right, or whatever it is that people say. Or it's probably his brother or whatever. It's something like that. Why are you thinking like that? That's the honesty I'm talking about. Why are you thinking like that? What makes you feel like that? What are you seeing in yourself that you don't like that guy's reflecting to you, right? Because if it's out there and it bothers you, that means it's in here. That's a real simple saying. If it's out there, it's in here, right? And I've had probably 800 veterans, over 800 veterans. I stopped counting a long time ago that I've worked with through the years, and the biggest challenge we have is that letting go of what you think you have to think about other people, right? Oh, I don't like that guy. I don't like that girl. Look at how he's looking at me. Look what he's wearing. That's bullshit. Why? It's about you, man. Your life. Are you living their life? Are they living your life? No. You're living your life.
No.
Take care of yourself, right?
Right.
And so like this bravado, the false machoism, all this bullshit that we have to put up with all the time. It's just a waste of energy and a waste of time.
Wow. So what are one thing that you would share, like the scoop on definitely with your book right here on how for transition service members, they could use this to help amplify their transition? Because as you know, when you transition, I transitioned in 2018. And when I read your title, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, I was kind of scared. I like, well, are they really ready for Kings? Like, am I ready for Kings? Like, who is Kings? Who is this new person that's about to be unleashed back into the world? How am I going to make my situation better? How, if I'm going to be attached to something, how I'm going to make it better? How I'm going to leave it? Like you talked about, leave it better than how you found it.
Yeah.
How you going to unleash your humble alpha?
Well, the reason the book is in the university is because when I was writing the book with Lane, I said, you know what, upsets me about all these self-help books is you read the book and there's no steps. You have to like go a highlighter and you got to highlight, then you got to go back and write it down. I was like, no, I want steps, man. Like I'm military. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, So that's what we did. So each chapter has action steps at the end. And when you do those action steps, you will come out with your mission statement, with your, purpose, with your identity. And so if you start at the first and you move, you're going to see, it's going to change your life. And anybody who reads this book, who actually did the work, said, holy shit, this changed my life forever. Because you're going to break free of those chains that you have in your mind of thinking you have to be a certain way because you did a certain thing. And remember, thoughts become things. So when you think that, that's what's going to happen. And so, but if you want to break away from the book and all this kind of stuff, I think my best advice is no one's going to bail you out. No one's there to help you. No one's going to come and say, hey, here, have $1 million. If you don't do it yourself, no one's going to do it for you. So whatever borders you have in your mind about what it is that you think you can and cannot do, forget all of them. Just go. Just go and walk up in front. And if they say no, you do it again and again and again and again, over and over and over until you find the place to be. And one day you wake up and be like, how did I get here? And you just kept trying, didn't you? And I don't mean blindly running against the wall. I'm saying, okay, that didn't work. Let me try it from this angle. Let me try it from that angle. Because look, I had no business doing what I was doing all these years, these different things that I was doing. I was called to Croatia to help them set up a veterans program for the Balkan veterans who fought in the war. Because, I realized they were neighbors in Yugoslavia. Then Yugoslavia split. And then they started shooting at each other. And then after the war was over, they were neighbors again, if they lived. Now, how do you deal with that, And these guys were never taken care of. They got $5,000 when the war was over and said, go home. That was it. And so this is 30 years, 25 years later, whatever it was. They're like, hey, can you help us set up a program? I'm like, me? What the hell am I doing here? Well, you're a veteran, you're famous, and all this kind of stuff. I'm not. Okay, but I'll help you. And it's so they saw it in me. Again, they saw it in me, so I just went and did it. Right? And the same thing with the party in Germany. It's like they said, well, can you help us with this? And I said, no. Sure, I guess. Well, why? He goes, well, you've done this and this and that, and you obviously know how to do organizational skills. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I did it, and it exploded. So have faith in yourself. But more than that, have faith in what people see in you more than what you have in yourself, because that's what's going to build that deeper faith. And faith is the middle, right? So it starts with belief. I believe. That's an active thought. I believe I can do this. Second one is faith. Faith. I believe that there's something bigger out there that's going to carry me there, right? Third one is being. You become it. You don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to pray for it anymore because you are it. So it's belief, faith, being, right? And then the all-knowing, where no matter where I turn, no matter where I go, no matter who comes to me, I can do it. That's it.
Yeah, that's wow. Look, if y'all haven't been writing stuff down, don't worry. It's gonna be it's recorded, so y'all can come back and listen to it over and over and over again, because I don't know if y'all knew how many gems was already dropped for y'all in such a short time. But if y'all want to know more about Steve, how can they reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
I do a daily video on Instagram, TikTok, and X on the political situation ever since, I married a Ukrainian, and then the war broke out. We took her parents, brought them here to Turkey. And I did a video last December, and it went viral. It got 10 million views. I was like, oh, so I did another one. And then I've been doing them ever since then. So I think 80 days in a row or 85 days in a row, I've done a video every day. And it's getting Alex Jones shared me, the press secretary of the White House, and I got crazy stuff, and again, it's the most effortless thing I've ever done. It takes me 5 minutes a day. I speak into the camera, put it captions, and throw it up online. And it's getting, 50 million views now, in total, all across all platforms. And it's so effortless. Why? Because I'm being me, right? I'm just saying what I think. I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying, this is what I see. What do you see? You know what I'm saying? So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on X. And you can find me on TikTok. TikTok and Instagram are Steven Eugene Kuhn. Easy to find. Also, LinkedIn, Steven Eugene Kuhn. TikTok's weird. It's like Kuhn Steven 90172 or something.
Right. I don't know. They'll find. They just got to put in the search thing with AI right now. That you just put in there, you'll pop up oh, that's him.
Yeah.
That was him. That's the book right there. I got to get it.
There's a lot of fake accounts on TikTok. There's about 40 fake accounts of me with the same exact picture. They Steven Eugene Kuhn 1, Steven Eugene 2, Steven Eugene _2. A lot of fake accounts. So make sure you have the one with, I think I got, 1.6 million likes or whatever it is on the right hand side there. I really pay attention. But yeah,
Okay, there y'all go.
And look, I'm accessible. I really am. Like you said, you wrote me on LinkedIn.
Look, I wrote him like not even 12 hours ago. I did not think that you was gonna respond so fast, but I seen and I reached out to Sean. He's the CEO of VET S.O.S, and he's like, "Hey, Steve responded." I said, "What?" As I ran to the email, I was like, "Hey, can you do? Can we shift right 1 hour?" He says, "Sure, no problem." And now we're here. So
especially for veterans,
and he is what he said. He is a man of his word. Man, I appreciate it. Thank you for being a person of your word. Thank you for being a human that's willing to share your story, share your insights, and thank you for putting this book together for others to get a part of it. So I greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, y'all, go ahead and go look this book up on Amazon. It's on paperback, or you can get Audible, everything. And then if not, hit him up on LinkedIn. Hit him up on LinkedIn. He'll definitely, he responded to me. So if he don't respond,
I respond to everybody.
There we go.
I can't respond to everybody on Instagram or TikTok because I get like thousands of messages. But if you're on LinkedIn and you're a veteran, I'll definitely respond.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Everybody, don't forget, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline. And you heard it here first on The Scoop. Thanks, Steve. Next time.